teacher will go over a number of points that they need to be made for the sake of the future listeners, that they will not have the paper, but also for you to pinpoint whatever is more important for you and write it down, and then ask the question, and we're going to be a free answer and question period. That will be the best. So here are the points that we need to keep in mind when we go for a recommendation letter. By the way, teacher doesn't want to forget this. Just about a few weeks ago, a student, which actually she was the Tuesdays with More Award, if you know about it. If you do not know, go to the livecare.com. Tuesdays with More Award is an award that is given to the one who is the top in the class, from every class in every quarter. And there was a student who was the top of the class, and she asked for a recommendation letter. And it was very sad that the teacher had to decline her request. She got an answer that they are the guidelines to be able to secure a positive recommendation letter. And that answer tells her that she will not be able to have a recommendation letter from a teacher that in his class, that student was the top. Because the teacher is not going to start making up things or write whatever is in the personal statement or from the resume, because the teacher does not know if it's true. So let's become serious about it, because if we are honest about this process, it will help to have better people in the best places for the best of the society in our world, and at the same time it gives opportunity to students to have and within growing, to find out who they are, what they want to do, to really find the green pastures by just using NET, yes, the process of obtaining a recommendation letter to achieve this kind of growth. So these are the points. The best recommendation letter you can obtain is the one that is offered to you even before you ask for one. Thus, ask yourself how that can happen, and if you do not know how, then we'll talk about it later. Bring up the question. You must know your recommender very well and have a clear idea of what they think of you and your work. A recommendation letter is a sincere and honest report about you by someone who knows you and feels confident about your abilities and personality. If after asking a professor to write a recommendation letter, you hear the following question or something similar, "Are you sure you want me to write a recommendation letter for you?" Most likely it is the first sign that his recommendation letter will not help you. A letter of recommendation is based on your quality as a professional and person, not only on networking or resume building. Did you ever engage in conversation with your professor during office hours or outside of class? Did you let your professor know about your abilities, plans, and aspirations? Have you worked with that professor through an internship of some kind? You need to select a professor that knows your skills and abilities best. It is more valuable for you to have a recommender that knows you well than to have a recommender with a prestigious title who does not know you well. Before you approach your professor to ask for a letter, did you ask if you could write a positive letter of recommendation for yourself based on your own assessment of commitment and success in her class? Are you giving your professor enough time to write the letter? So here's the question. How do you secure a positive letter of recommendation? You obtain a standard recommendation evaluation form. Make sure you study and you read between the lines. The questions on that form are the ones that your professor will answer. Many professors give kind of a list of questions, or kind of to prepare you to answer a few questions before they give the recommendation letter. Some do, some they do not. Make sure you attend at last one graduation ceremony, as was said before you reach yours. Start to work on the areas you feel you need improvement. Take the seminar, some seminar like Success in College and After College, taught by your teacher. Read a book on the areas you need to improve. Go to a lecture, seminar, or workshop like you did tonight, related to what you want to improve on. Talk to someone who has recently already been through the same process. Do more than one internship. Do volunteer work, not necessarily related to what you want to study, but it's better if it is. So now the question is, are you ready to ask for the letter? This part is really the mechanics, but the teachers really like you to follow these mechanics because they are very busy, and if you don't do it that way, somehow the process of obtaining the recommendation letter might stop because the professor will be somewhere. He will not feel that he can deal with you because you are not doing it the right way, and it takes forever, and the professor might just forget about it and do his own thing. So even there, the mechanics, they are very important. Put all your material in a folder and give it to your professor. The folder should include the following: the form that you were asked to fill out. Neatness also counts. Transcripts, resume, personal statement, the form that you need to have sent. Fill in everything you can on the forms. Do not leave any items blank for your professor to fill in, even if you can do it yourself. After you've given your professor some time to study your file, ask for a short meeting and be prepared to state your plans briefly. If you have not done it already during the internship and to know you for a long time. During that meeting, you should be prepared to answer any questions he or she might have. And personal appearance does matter during these meetings. Now, after having done the above, you can be sure that most likely you will have a positive recommendation letter. Every one of these points is important, and hopefully, more or less, different students will be touching different points, so we can cover most of them. And you are welcome to ask the questions you would like to ask. And teacher will try to do his best to answer your questions.
Can TAs or graduate students be asked to write letters of recommendation?
The question is if students can ask the teaching assistant to write a recommendation letter?
Yes, would it be credible still? Because most of the time I connect work more with my TA than I do with the professor. And they know me better.
If we remember what was said a few minutes ago, it will certainly count more if the professor does know you. If the professor the professor knows only your grade, and the teaching assistant knows you for 3 months, being in the lab every week for 3 hours, and perhaps that TA, maybe he knows you more than 3 months, but even for 3 months, even for 3 hours every week, that's a lot of hours. And there is a lot of things that the teaching assistant can say about you for the topics that we cover, the professor cannot really say. And even if the professor tries to do that, the committee is very well trained, and from the letter, they can smell it, they can detect if the letter is a genuine letter or if it's a make-up letter. So it is better to be from someone who really knows you than somebody who has a higher degree or a more prestigious title, because the committee will know it. And that's not the way to go, really. It's a very wrong way to do that, by just going for a higher title and the person doesn't know you. We need to be honest. If we're honest, we're going to create a better world tomorrow.
So, if you just, like, let's say you're a second year and you just finished a class, a quarter with a professor, and the professor will remember you best at the end of that quarter as opposed to if you come to him or her 2 years later when you're graduating. Is it better to ask the professor to write a letter of recommendation right after you finish the class with them and not wait so that their memory of you is fresh in their mind?
Okay, so this question is, if you had a professor in the second year and you will need a recommendation letter sooner or later, is it better to ask him immediately after the class is over,